That's 818-610-8088, TaheeboTClub.com.
The following program is produced by the AM First Radio Network and distributed by Global American Broadcasting, the GAB Radio Network.
Thank you for tuning in for this edition of Justice Watch with Attorney Zulu Ali. I am Attorney Zulu Ali with the Justice Watch crew, Rosa Nunez, Michael Bilal Clark, Dr. Akil Bashir, and Andrea Rodeman. This week, like every week, we'll be discussing critical legal and social justice issues that are impacting our communities. Today, we'll be talking about the police shooting of an Amber Alert victim. And this happened, when was this? This was it on September the 26th or 27th? I think they had issued, now this is San Bernardino County Police Department had issued a, well, it wasn't the police department, I think it was the Highway Patrol, right? Mm-hmm. Issued an Amber Alert for a 15-year-old girl. I think her name is Savannah Graziano. And the issue was that apparently he had killed the girl's mother, right?
Yes.
And then after killing the girl's mother, then allegedly he had taken the girl, and I think a day after the Amber Alert was issued, they were pulled over and by San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies, and the allegation is that basically she was running towards the police, and when she took off running towards the police or towards the deputies, that a deputy had actually shot her, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it says that she shot her as she emerged from her father's truck wearing body armor, right? Why was she? Is that what it is? Do you have better?
Yeah,
what's your take on it?
Well, my take is they said that she had body armor.
What am I doing, man? Uh-oh.
My take is
Let me get that out there. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, so they said that she emerged from the vehicle having body armor. But my thing is, I don't think they ever said at any time whether or not she, exited a vehicle with a weapon firing at them or anything like that. It was just more or less along the lines that she ran towards them. So I don't know. It's kind of strange, going, reading all these different, views and stuff like that, whether or not she even had a weapon. Of course, they came back later on and said that she was active participant in terms of shooting at the deputies. But
well, here what it says that basically the father's name was Anthony Graziano, who was driving and I think that the incident took place at about 10:25 a.m. Pulled over him driving a white 2017 Nissan Frontier, and basically during this traffic stop, this incident happened. So, I mean, I think, my take on it, and it's a discussion that I've had in the past, and I think it's a discussion that, we very seldom talk about, as far as the training that these officers are getting. Mm-hmm. And I think that what I believe, and this is just my opinion on the issue, is that unfortunately, well, this is the way policing works when it comes to training. Me personally, and I was telling this to somebody the other day, that, when I got out of I went to the police academy probably about 2 months after I got out of the Marine Corps, right? Okay. And so, basically what you have in police training is a paramilitary type of training. Basically it's very much, you see the formation, you see, you're given orders, you typically, at least in a lot of police departments, at least for us, we stayed there during the week and then we went home on the weekend. So it was very similar to a military type training, right? And so the question is that the right and proper type of training that you should be receiving when you're engaged in policing duties? then the alternative, obviously, is what we call academic training, right? And an academic training would be more of a classroom type of training where you're given, instruction on how to deal with, like, for example, human behavior, where you're dealing with other issues of social social work type of issues, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, as opposed to being the more paramilitary type of training where you're basically, you're a soldier,
Yeah.
right?
War.
And if you're trained like a soldier, then you're going to react like a soldier as opposed to other training. And also, what's interesting about being a police officer, when you think about jobs and careers that have significant responsibilities, whether you're talking about a nurse, a doctor, a dentist, anything that requires significant responsibility, you would think would require significant training, right?
Yeah.
So just imagine, let's just use, for example, a physician. A physician goes to school for no less than 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, at least 1 year of internship, but generally 3 or 4 years of some sort of residency when they're specialized. So you're talking about anywhere between 9 to 12 to 13 years because of the responsibility that you're dealing with the human life, right?
Correct.
So now, as a police officer who has the ability to take someone's life at the blink of an eye, you have the authority to take someone's life whenever and however, for the lack of a better term, but you know what I mean. You have the ability to take someone else's life, and you don't have to have any type of degree.
No.
You can do whatever until you turn. I mean, typically in most departments, it's between the ages of 20 and 22 when you can become a police officer. And in some sheriff's departments, you can be even younger and actually be part of the especially like in the South and other areas. And then you go to an academy. And an academy typically is going to be anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months. So you, within a period of 6 weeks to 6 months, receive training that allows you to go out onto the street, right, and make a decision about taking somebody else's life. And the question is that adequate, right? Is that an adequate training for someone who has such power, right? And so when we look at a case like this, and I mean, you're going to see all kinds of disputes and all kinds of debate on whether the officer was justified. And I mean, just think about this for a second. So you have an Amber Alert situation where you have a person who had just taken the life of the child's mother, allegedly kidnaps the child, and when you pull it over, when you pull over the vehicle or you're faced with this situation, you end up killing a 15-year-old child. Now the question is, obviously the sheriff's department is going to make it an issue of the fact that she could have been a participant. There's always this loose, evasive idea of, I thought that my life was in danger.
Yeah.
Right? As long as you say that, basically you can almost justify almost any shooting, right?
Correct.
But when you take a situation like this where you have a child that's 15 years old who may have been seeking and I think that the AG, the Attorney General who was involved in an investigation, has already made a determination that that this child was not armed.
Correct.
Right? So the question is, this is a tragedy.
It is.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an absolute tragedy, and it really, puts me in the thought process as I'm thinking about, and I don't want to put any specific department on blast, but San Bernardino County, man, they've been blasting some people.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so and that's been an issue, you know, with that county. But the thoughts of, you know, the murdering, police shooting, and the murdering of a 15-year-old girl in a situation like this, and how, you know, because every shooting is always a justified shooting, right? I mean, in every case, there's always a press conference, and the sheriff or the police chief or their spokesman always stands in front of the people and kind of, you know, treat it in a manner in which, you know, there's an investigation. They don't want you to rush to judgment.
Yeah.
They want you to give the officer the benefit of the doubt. However, citizens aren't given that same type of consideration, right? If that would have been someone else other than law enforcement, why aren't they held to a higher standard? You see what I'm saying? So in other words, you know, and I know we have this presumption of innocence, but the presumption of innocence just doesn't, in reality, really plays its way out generally in our society. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think it goes back to what you're saying as far as the training. I mean, you're talking about military training, the way that they're trained, you know. I mean, it's a totally different dynamics from being in war.
Or a radio show but have no idea where to start? Or have you been hosting a podcast for a while and want to take it to the next level? If so, you need the Gab Radio Network. To host a show on the Gab Radio Network, all you need is your voice, and we'll handle the rest. From technical engineering to full-service audio production and much more. Every show on the Gab Radio Network can be heard on our station on the TuneIn Radio app. Plus, we put all of our shows on our satellite, which is accessed by over 5,500 stations. And here's the best part. You can host from anywhere you want. There are many means to connect to the Gab Radio Network remotely, and our staff of highly trained engineers and producers will make you sound like you're right here in studio. So, if you want to be on the Gab Radio Network, the same network that hosts the Small Business Advocate, Radio MD, and The Federalist, send an email right now to sales@gabradionetwork.com. That's sales@gabradionetwork.com.
Nubian Pictures presents a CCM Films production documentary entitled Purpose and Freedom. Keep your hand on the plow. This emotional and strong documentary tells the story of African-American lawyer Zulu Ali seeking justice and his purpose as a lawyer, while crossing paths with Araceli, an undocumented immigrant from Mexico who is seeking her freedom. Together, they help discover their purpose and freedom in each other. Watch this incredible film today from iTunes Movies, YouTube Movies, Amazon Prime, and Google Play Movies. Learn about the cast and crew, links to purchase, and more at purposeandfreedommovie.com. Purpose and Freedom. Keep your hand on the plow. Available now. Rated G.
I did not feel safe. That's why I decided to come to California, because I didn't feel safe in Mexico.
It's kind of like the system, and if you go outside the system, then it becomes a struggle.
Are you an immigrant seeking defense representation and are looking to protect your rights? Or maybe someone who is experiencing an injustice or discrimination and need a lawyer you can trust? Well, that's exactly why you need the help of award-winning trial lawyer Zulu Ali. The law offices of Zulu Ali provides immigration defense representation for those seeking justice and looking to protect their rights. If you or a loved one needs professional legal advice and representation, then contact Zulu Ali. Zulu Ali's firm focuses on criminal law, family law, civil and personal injury, and international law. Zulu Ali is a former police officer and U.S. Marine, so you know you're in good hands. Serving all of California and immigration cases nationwide, representing victims and suspects at the International Criminal Court at The Hague. Call Zulu Ali today at 888-682-3049 or visit ZuluAliLaw.com.
Welcome back to Justice Watch with Attorney Zulu Ali and the Justice Watch crew. We're continuing with our discussion on the shooting, the police shooting of the Amber Alert victim, I guess I should say. Yeah. But anyway, so I mean, going back, I mean, so I mean, there's obviously going to be a lot of, because here's what, at least what's been reported is that basically that when it was stopped, or at least when the vehicle stopped, that a person wearing protective equipment, including a tactical helmet, emerged from the passenger side of the vehicle, ran toward the sheriff's deputies, and then fell amid the gunfire. At that point, deputies went to clear the vehicle, where they found Anthony Graziano. When the deputies went to provide medical aid to the person in tactical gear, they realized this is Savannah, and had her transported to a nearby hospital, where she was pronounced dead just before noon, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we still go back to, there's obviously going to be argument about the officer's safety and the fact that, and we'll never, and this is the thing, we have to get past this whole idea, because how are we going to have law enforcement reform when we continue to figure out ways to always justify, police shootings? There's very few shootings that aren't at least, law enforcement attempts to try to justify, right? Mm-hmm. And so the point that I'm trying to make is, as we're looking at this, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that, you're going to have a lot of argument about why, law enforcement, they protecting their life, that in a situation like that, where you're after, you're pursuing someone and you pull them over and there's allegedly shooting back at you, and then, someone gets out of the vehicle and, they actually, get shot, right? Mm-hmm. And so again, when you think about what is the ultimate, what is the goal? So let's just say, for example, you're kidnapped. Mm-hmm. Or let's just say, for example, God forbid, your kid is kidnapped. Mm-hmm. And the police find the vehicle, and they're behind the vehicle and of the person that they believe had kidnapped your child. And then this person allegedly starts shooting back at you, or mm-hmm. shooting back at police. Mm-hmm. Police continue in pursuit. Ultimately, they get pulled over. Someone gets out of the passenger side. And then, because you're really just shooting, that you ultimately end up shooting your child, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, what's the end goal? And I don't think they really knew what the end goal was. Mm-hmm. Because if you sit back, and of course we say we have the benefit of Monday morning quarterbacking. You're not on the scene. You're not in that situation. Yeah. So you can't really make a decision about what you would do in a situation like that. Mm-hmm. But, when you begin to start thinking about that scenario, mm-hmm. right, what is the end goal? Because no matter what's happening, if you're shooting at a person driving a vehicle and you're just really just, putting them down range, mm-hmm. you're going to kill the person, period. Yeah. Right? Yeah. What's the end goal? Yeah. Right? So yeah. So I don't even think they think about that. No, I think that when it comes to, there's a lot of pride that goes along with that position. Mm-hmm. And the reality of it is, retreating is never really an option. Is there something else that you could have done? Could there have been a helicopter that would have been able to, follow this vehicle to a certain to a certain point? I mean, what was the urgency of that moment that made him feel like it was necessary to counsel that person? Because what was the okay? So what was the end goal? So I'm trying to figure out. The ultimate goal was to get the child safely.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah. So the question is, how do you get the child safely in that scenario? Or was that really your thought process? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, considering the fact that a child was involved, I think they should have looked at it totally different. I think they would have proceeded totally different in how they handle it. But I understand that gunfire is being, admitted and everything. But you take, for instance, if you're going through, I think there's some type of law where you can't pursue a vehicle high-speed chase through an urban area because there's houses and stuff, because you're pedestrians and stuff like that. So you proceed with caution, but you don't want to chase nobody through it. I think that same type of caution should apply to here, considering the fact that there was a child involved in this.
Right.
And then considering, someone coming out of the car and coming towards you, if no one is firing a weapon at the time of them, coming towards you, then why? And then, like you say, it's deadly force. You always shoot with deadly force because you train military-wise, and so therefore you train to kill, not to injure, but to kill.
Yeah, you train to if you're shooting at something, you're shooting center mass. The rationale behind shooting center mass is that if you don't shoot center mass, you're more likely to shoot an innocent bystander. That's the rationale behind it. And there may be some validity to it, but this is the thing. Assuming that the little girl was kidnapped, then that little girl is what? She is a hostage. Mm-hmm. You can presume. Yeah. That's what their presumption is she's going to be a hostage.
Correct.
Now, if you go to hostage negotiators and I can say this because I went to hostage negotiation school, right? And so basically you're very patient with people who take hostages. You don't just bum if you're in a bank with a whole bunch of hostages, you don't bum rush the bank and start shooting people.
Correct.
You try to negotiate with the hostage because the thing that you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure that you preserve as much life as you possibly can. Mm-hmm. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Right? Not the person who is the hostage taker. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, if there's a way to take a hostage taker in a way in which is not like with a sniper or something, that's not going to be harmful to someone else, right? Then you do that. But you just don't bum rush it. So let's just assume, what is the difference in those scenarios? If you're driving in a car with a hostage and someone that has a gun, right? Lord forbid that never happens to me, anyone in my family, because preservation of life obviously was not the most important thing that they had, right?
Correct.
They don't know. I mean, they're saying that the girl was shooting at them, but was the girl shooting at them when she ran out of the car?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you said there was only one gun found, right?
Only one gun found, yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, they made a bad mistake because they're not properly trained. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make argument about this and that, but the reality of it is that they generally aren't in situations like that, and they basically are put in a situation where that's how they deal with everything. Mm-hmm. Right?
Correct.
Even when they're dealing with individuals who are being belligerent, they're not taught any degree of patience. They're just taught that you do what I tell you to do.
Correct.
And if you don't do what I
There's a new nationally syndicated radio program that's sweeping the nation, and you don't want to miss it. Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali, the voice of justice for the people. The focus of Justice Watch is to provide an honest analysis and viable solutions to the criminal and social justice crisis in America and the world from a black, brown, working class, and socially disadvantaged perspective, and to motivate listeners to be informed and part of the solution. Zulu Ali is joined by the Justice Crew, consisting of Rosa Nunez, Michael Clark, Dr. Akil Bashir, and Charito Ali to tackle the most pressing issues. Host attorney Zulu Ali is a former police officer, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, and an award-winning trial lawyer who focuses on representing persons accused of crimes, immigrants, victims of discrimination, and persons seeking civil justice. Find out how to listen to Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali at justicewatchradio.com. Nubian Pictures presents a CCM Films production documentary entitled Purpose and Freedom. Keep your hand on the plow. This emotional and strong documentary tells the story of African-American lawyer Zulu Ali seeking justice and his purpose as a lawyer, while crossing paths with Araceli, an undocumented immigrant from Mexico who is seeking her freedom. Together, they help discover their purpose and freedom in each other. Watch this incredible film today from iTunes Movies, YouTube Movies, Amazon Prime, and Google Play Movies. Learn about the cast and crew, links to purchase, and more at purposeandfreedommovie.com. Purpose and Freedom. Keep your hand on the plow. Available now. Rated G.
I did not feel safe. That's why I decided to come to California, because I didn't feel safe in Mexico.
It's kind of like the system, and if you go outside the system, then it becomes a struggle.
Are you an immigrant seeking defense representation and are looking to protect your rights? Or maybe someone who is experiencing an injustice or discrimination and need a lawyer you can trust? Well, that's exactly why you need the help of award-winning trial lawyer Zulu Ali. The law offices of Zulu Ali provides immigration defense representation for those seeking justice and looking to protect their rights. If you or a loved one needs professional legal advice and representation, then contact Zulu Ali. Zulu Ali's firm focuses on criminal law, family law, civil and personal injury, and international law. Zulu Ali is a former police officer and U.S. Marine, so you know you're in good hands, serving all of California and immigration cases nationwide, representing victims and suspects at the International Criminal Court at The Hague. Call Zulu Ali today at 888-682-3049 or visit ZuluAliLaw.com.
Girl that was the Amber Alert victim. But going back to the Amber Alert, so I have a question about that, and we talked about that during the break. So let's just kind of like see if we can unpack the whole issue of was she abducted? Right? I mean, do we really know that? Do we really know what the custody situation, and does it really matter if she was or not? I mean, there might be a lot that's did they think she was involved in it? But they would not issued an Amber Alert against her unless they felt like that she was in danger.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They wouldn't have issued an Amber Alert if she wasn't abducted. And according to all the stuff that I've read over these past couple, because this happened very close to me, so I've seen all of a lot of the stuff while it was going down. And my physician actually, his wife has something to do with the sheriff's department, and there's a lot that I've been made aware of. She was abducted. I'm not. That's why I'm not going there. I'll tell you guys on the break or something. But she. It seems that yes, she was abducted because everything happened after he killed his wife. According to what I'm told, he went up to their youngest child's school and killed her there. So, when I first heard this, it's crazy to me how immediately I thought she was, number one, running for rescue. Number two, she was made to get into the tactical gear. But it was just kind of disheartening that wasn't the first thing that they thought. They immediately thought that they were in jeopardy, and they shot. But they knew that it was only two people in the vehicle.
Yeah.
So that's what I don't understand. I don't understand that part.
Well, I think
it was only two people in the vehicle. One was dead. The other was running towards you. Or one was shooting, and the other one was running towards you. I don't get that.
I think it goes back to training.
It goes, yeah.
I mean, it goes back to the way that they deal with these situations. I mean, like I said, they're taught, the paramilitary training basically, is the reason why they do things like that. I mean, you're basically taught, that's how you do things. That's how you handle things. You don't, You know, because you go from the perspective. Again, we have to have a paradigm shift in the way in which law enforcement officers deal with, you know, these situations.
Right.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like I said, I mean, you know, let's just keep it 100. Just because you go through that process does not mean, I mean, what do we want out of our law enforcement officers? That's the first question. What do you, when you think about the preservation of life, and you're thinking that your main concern is basically to serve and to protect, you know, the public, right? And that means everybody. You know, how do we want, or how would we expect them to basically, you know, react? They do not. I mean, having people skills and having common sense is not a prerequisite to being a police officer. I said it. Okay, it's not.
Yeah.
Now that's not to say that there's many men and women in uniform that have those things.
Yeah.
They have, you know, but they usually aren't the ones that get involved in stuff like this, right? They're going to be, you know, it's, you know, we have to understand, you know, people, right? And just thinking that just because somehow, because look, this is something that was told to me when a conversation that I had when I was a police officer. I was told by an older officer that back in the day when he became a police officer, generally it wasn't as desirable to be a police officer back in the 50s and 60s as it is today. It's not as glamorous. So most officers, at least from the area that I was from, became police officers later in life. In other words, 27, 28, 29, 30 years old. What is the advantage of that as opposed to someone who becomes an officer at 22, who's just right out of college or right out of the military or whatever? Because when you have someone who is hired at a younger age, they play out their issues in the department. So in other words, let's just say a guy at 22 becomes an officer. He goes through the academy, and let's just be real. When you become a police officer, you get away with a lot of stuff. So in other words, when you have the fight with the girlfriend, or you have the fight with the wife, and the police come, and you're a police officer, they're not sticking around. You come out, you talk to them, they leave, they don't mess with you. But let's just assume that you play out these things, that you're not a police officer. And that between the ages of 26 to 22 and 30, we find out you're a woman beater. We find out that you have a serious drug and alcohol problem, right? You play out those things. Now, if you was a police officer, you can get away with those things, right?
Correct.
Right.
And you just play them out in the department. You haven't lived life long enough in order for someone to determine who you really are.
Exactly. Correct.
And that's the problem. And there's actually a department, my cousin who is an officer in Tennessee was telling me there's an entire department that have anywhere from 30 to 40 officers on desk duty now because they found out that they failed their psychological exam.
Yeah.
You hear about that?
Yeah, I just heard about that.
You know,
Yeah.
so, you know, so there's problems there. Not to mention, you know, and you know how I love military. I was a Marine too. I love the military, but a lot of these kids that are coming, most of the kids now, they have not lived in a time where they saw peace.
Yeah.
They've lived nothing but war.
Correct.
These kids go out and they come back from the military, and some of them have some serious PTSD,
Yes.
and they're not dealing
Agree.
with it.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys that come back, I mean, they're dealing with trauma that goes unchecked because we really don't check our veterans the way that we should, right?
No. Yeah.
So I mean, we got a lot of issues, but we have to go back and we have to say, how are we going to reevaluate the way in which we choose officers, we train officers, and maintain our, our policies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if we continue to do it the same, I mean, it's like the military, and then the militarization of law enforcement is, especially today, is a byproduct of the crack war on drugs. The militarization of the law enforcement. You see what I'm saying? What they did during that time?
Yeah.
I mean, they had tanks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
These dudes, it's like they became
battle ram.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it changed the way they did things.
Yeah.
And the idea of it.
Yeah.
And it became even more soldiers. The war on drugs.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? And the weapons that you got after that. And even the uniforms changed.
Exactly.
The way that you wore them. But dudes now, you see they're wearing vests on the outside.
Yeah.
That's part. It's because it's just they're wearing. They don't even look like a vest. It's like a flak jacket. You ever seen a military guy wear a flak jacket?
Yeah.
That's what they're wearing now. And they're even wearing combat gear.
Yeah.
Some of them are wearing camouflage. Also, something that you don't see, that you used to see back in the day. You remember how much stuff used to be on an officer's belt? Mace.
Yeah.
PR-20. Some call it, and then they got the Asbaton.
Yeah.
They had all kinds of things.
You don't see that no more.
Now you see one thing on their belt: a gun and ammo, and handcuffs.
That's it.
And why? Why? Do they even teach non-lethal force?
No, they don't teach non-lethal force.
And another question too, like back in the day, you used to fight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you might have to scrap. That's why you become a police officer. I might have to scrap with you. But now it's like, do these dudes even know how to even fight?
No,
they don't.
Huh?
No.
You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, the mindset is different, and immediately we go there. Why? And again, I believe that it's the mindset is even, and I don't think this just started, but the mindset is just, getting worse.
Yeah. But just going back to what you were saying as far as how many people failed that psych evaluation or that psych test, just imagine if we did this across the board, how many of them would fail?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like you saying, a lot of these young men young men and young women that coming onto the force, they haven't even lived yet, to even know how to respond to certain situations.
Right.
I mean, as someone that's older, of course, you take in consideration sometimes. You live long.
Nationally syndicated radio program that's sweeping the nation, and you don't want to miss it. Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali, the voice of justice for the people. The focus of Justice Watch is to provide an honest analysis and viable solutions to the criminal and social justice crisis in America and the world from a black, brown, working class, and socially disadvantaged perspective, and to motivate listeners to be informed and part of the solution. Zulu Ali is joined by the Justice Crew, consisting of Rosa Nunez, Michael Clark, Dr. Akil Bashir, and Charito Ali to tackle the most pressing issues. Host attorney Zulu Ali is a former police officer, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, and an award-winning trial lawyer who focuses on representing persons accused of crimes, immigrants, victims of discrimination, and persons seeking civil justice. Find out how to listen to Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali at justicewatchradio.com. Nubian Pictures presents a CCM Films production documentary entitled Purpose and Freedom. Keep your hand on the plow. This emotional and strong documentary tells the story of African-American lawyer Zulu Ali seeking justice and his purpose as a lawyer, while crossing paths with Araceli, an undocumented immigrant from Mexico who is seeking her freedom. Together, they help discover their purpose and freedom in each other. Watch this incredible film today from iTunes Movies. YouTube Movies, Amazon Prime, and Google Play Movies. Learn about the cast and crew, links to purchase, and more at purposeandfreedommovie.com. Purpose and Freedom. Keep your hand on the plow. Available now. Rated G.
I did not feel safe. That's why I decided to come to California, because I didn't feel safe in Mexico.
It's kind of like the system, and if you go outside the system, then it becomes a struggle.
Are you an immigrant seeking defense representation and are looking to protect your rights? Or maybe someone who is experiencing an injustice or discrimination and need a lawyer you can trust? Well, that's exactly why you need the help of award-winning trial lawyer Zulu Ali. The law offices of Zulu Ali provides immigration defense representation for those seeking justice and looking to protect their rights. If you or a loved one needs professional legal advice and representation, then contact Zulu Ali. Zulu Ali's firm focuses on criminal law, family law, civil and personal injury, and international law. Zulu Ali is a former police officer and U.S. Marine, so you know you're in good hands, serving all of California and immigration cases nationwide, representing victims and suspects at the International Criminal Court at The Hague. Call Zulu Ali today at 888-682-3049 or visit ZuluAliLaw.com.
Welcome back to Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali and the Justice Watch crew, where we're continuing with our discussion on the Amber Alert teenager that was shot. So, yes, I mean, there's a lot of questions, that we haven't, that are unanswered, and I'm kind of curious, as to, what was really going on as far as the circumstances, regarding the teenage. Not to the extent that it really matters. I think that, we would all assume that if they issued an Amber Alert, then there was reason, at least for law enforcement, to believe at that particular time that you had someone that was in danger, right? Mm-hmm. So again, I mean, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, but I understand they didn't have all the information during that time. But considering the fact you looking at it, why was she an active participant at the time of the first shooting?
She was.
No, why wasn't? I'm saying that you later on she was, but at that particular time, well, I mean, she was in the car and he drove off with her. But you got to understand that he had custody of her for the last month or so.
She did.
No, he did.
That's what I'm saying. He did.
Yeah, he had custody of her for the last month or so. So how could he kidnap a child that he had custody of her for the last month or so?
That's weird. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that regardless, my question still goes back to because I think that what happened is we kind of throw things out there. Mm-hmm. Like, if you on one side or the other, then you immediately go to this default position of saying, okay, well, it was justified because she came out running at him, or it was, not justified, because of this. But it still automatically still goes back to the same situation is what did you expect? I mean, what, in other words, not expect, but what is the ultimate underlying goal of being an officer and pursuing a vehicle like that? What is the underlying issue, and what do you expect to come out of this?
I expect for the child to come out of there safely. I mean, the Amber Alert was put out on it, and so therefore, I think that the way that they handled it was wrong. Mm-hmm. I mean, it goes back to what you were saying. If someone is kidnapped or someone is being held hostage, you have to deal with those situations totally different. Yeah. Preservation of life, to preserve life, so to speak. And so I understand that those bullets are flying, but at the point in time that the gunfire stopped and someone coming out, you find one gun in the vehicle. It's in the vehicle. Evidently, it's not on her. Right. As she running.
Right. The question, the ultimate question is, you're going to, if people who are pro law enforcement are never going to see anything wrong with what law enforcement do, right? And people who have an issue with law enforcement, are always going to see an opportunity to, to question and to, to criticize law enforcement, right? But I think that, if you were to sit there and you take an objective viewpoint as to what do you ultimately want to come out of the situation, then I think that the most objective way to look at it is, they wanted to kill somebody. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so this is the question, and I'm sure that Joe gave us, and I'm sure that a lot of people ask this question. If you were just being shot at, car comes to a stop, someone runs at you in full tactical gear, it's hard to assume that you're not going to be shot at.
Correct.
That's true.
Right?
It's true, yeah.
So, but then I think the question is, and I think that would be, so this is what I would do. What if you were taken as a hostage, right? You're in a bank and you're taken as a hostage. And someone convinces you to put on a certain tactical gear or put on something that would make you at least not immediately recognizable as a civilian, and tell you to go outside of the bank. What would you expect to happen? Do you expect for them to immediately shoot you? And do you expect to be prepared for that? So there's a couple of questions, and then the next question is: was he just all willy-nilly shooting at these people? Do we know that?
Yeah.
Was he just riding down the street and then he decided that he's going to turn around and he starts shooting at them? Did that happen?
Yeah.
And if he did, then, and let's just assume that would you ride up on him and start shooting back at him? Are you on the interstate and someone is shooting at you with a gun? Should you shoot back at somebody from a moving vehicle on the interstate?
No.
Huh?
No, I don't think you should shoot back.
I
Not at
mean,
that point.
or if someone is shooting at you from inside of a bank, you're outside of a bank. You're a police officer. Someone is in a bank, and he has hostages, and he's shooting outside of the bank. He's just shooting from the door. There's innocent hostages inside of the bank. Do you shoot in that bank?
No.
No.
You see what I'm saying? So, I don't think that as a police officer you should be shooting from a moving vehicle, because because you're not even taught to even do that. That's why they say that you shoot center mass. Why do officers shoot center mass? You're taught to shoot one way and really one way only, even if you're in the prone position. Right? There's a way you shoot. You know what I'm saying? And there's supposed to be tactics to all this. It's not watching a show on television or watching, you're not taught like that. Like you're not Axel Foley on Beverly Hills Cop, where you just,
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? There's supposed to be some sort of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it seems like the way this played out, there seemed to have been some issues, because the Amber Alert was for a whole day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're in a situation, it's like the officer that thought she was pulling out her taser and pulled out a gun and shot somebody.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, do you're not, and you're a training officer. You train people. And you pull out a gun and you pull out your gun and shoot somebody instead of a taser. You shoot an unarmed man. You're a training officer and you put your knee on a man's neck and you kill him. These people were not officers. They were training officers. right?
Yeah.
I'm training you what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to put your knee on somebody's neck and kill them. You're not supposed to pull out your gun and shoot somebody. And how in the world you don't know the difference between a gun and a taser?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when are we going to realize that there's a problem? There's a problem with our training. These people have been training somebody for over 20
Nationally syndicated radio program that's sweeping the nation, and you don't want to miss it. Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali, the voice of justice for the people. The focus of Justice Watch is to provide an honest analysis and viable solutions to the criminal and social justice crisis in America and the world from a black, brown, working class, and socially disadvantaged perspective, and to motivate listeners to be informed and part of the solution. Zulu Ali is joined by the Justice Crew, consisting of Rosa Nunez, Michael Clark, Dr. Akil Bashir, and Charito Ali to tackle the most pressing issues. Host attorney Zulu Ali is a former police officer, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, and an award-winning trial lawyer who focuses on representing persons accused of crimes, immigrants, victims of discrimination, and persons seeking civil justice. Find out how to listen to Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali at justicewatchradio.com.
You're on board KCAA's